Let's talk about Robin Hood, a Sheriff of Nottingham game that's all about bluffing and bribery. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald. In this episode, we're going to talk about Disney Robin Hood, a Sheriff of Nottingham game that is, as I said earlier, all about bluffing and bribery in order to make your way to victory. This is a game that's based on that Disney movie that I remember from when I was a kid. I mean, this fox was the coolest fox for many years until the fantastic Mr. Fox came along, and then maybe this fox is now the second coolest fox in town. But Robin Hood, Sheriff of Nottingham game, is a game for between 3 and 5 players. You can play with kids aged 10 and up, and games only take about 45 minutes. Let's take a deeper look at Disney Robin Hood, Sheriff of Nottingham game. This is a Disney-themed version of an older game, Sheriff of Nottingham, that's also all about bluffing and bribery, and they've kind of simplified some things and maybe added a few things here to bring that Disney theme to life. This is by CMON and Spin Master Games, and one of the things that jumped out at me right away when I opened the box was the lack of plastic. This game came, I ordered it from Amazon. It was not wrapped in plastic. It was taped together on the bottom. So there was tape attached to the bottom of the box. And the insert is made of paper as well. This is a light game in terms of its complexity. And it's all about trying to be the player who earns the most points by collecting goods that you're going to bring into the village, but also by helping villagers. So one of the things that you can do in the Robin Hood version here of the Sheriff of Nottingham game is you can trade some of your goods to help the villagers in the town. If you manage to get 3 chunks of cheese, 3 wheels of cheese into the village, you can turn those in and get these villagers. Now, the villagers are going to be worth points, but you also get bonus points if you're the player who helped the most villagers of each type. There are thick cardboard cards here to just remind you of what you're trading for each of these and to keep the tokens organized. So these will go at the top of the board when you're playing. Each player is going to take a role as one of the characters from the Disney Robin Hood movie. So of course you've got Friar Tuck and Little John and Maid Marian and the second coolest fox of all time, perhaps, Robin Hood himself. One of the players, though, is going to be the Sheriff of Nottingham. And this is the guy who's going to try to catch Robin Hood and his merry men before they manage to get to the village with stolen goods or any kind of contraband. Players in this game are going to start, of course, with their player board. They're going to start the game with a hand of cards, a bag, and some coins. And what each player, except for the sheriff, is going to do is choose some cards from their hand to put into their bag. They close that up and they hand that bag to the sheriff. They're trying to get to the village with as many goods as possible. Now, players can lie about what's in their bag, and they may have to do that if they want to get stolen goods like this crown into the village. So you might say, I've got a bag with 4 carrots inside. One of those carrots might be a crown instead, and then the sheriff is going to have to decide if he wants to search that bag or not. All the players will decide what cards they want to put in their bag, and then the player who's playing as the sheriff is going to decide which bag do they want to open. Do they want to search those bags, or do they just want to let the players pass and decide that they're telling the truth? Now, most of the time, you're going to be lying in this game and saying, well, I have 4 carrots, but one of those carrots is actually a crown or rings or some stolen good, or maybe you're trying to sneak some other things across in order to help more villagers. So the sheriff is going to say, well, I think I'm going to open Robin Hood's bag or Maid Marian's bag. And then the players get to start arguing, and there's some bribery and hopefully some compromise happening here. And what happened when we played the game is we tried to take the role of the characters, and we might say, oh, I'm just a fox. Why would I lie to you about bringing carrots to the village? So we tried to act things out and role play a little bit when we played the game. But a lot of this is about bribery. Maybe the sheriff is going to say, well, Robin Hood, I don't trust you. I don't believe you. I don't think those are 4 carrots in that bag. I'm going to open up this bag and search through it. And then Robin Hood can decide to bribe the sheriff with coins with cards that he's collected previously, with treasure. You can return stolen treasure to the sheriff as well. Then there's a negotiation and a discussion that's going to happen, and Robin Hood is going to have to decide, well, what's in this bag, and if the sheriff opens it, what's it worth to me to prevent the sheriff from opening it? Now, if the sheriff opens a bag and the player was telling the truth, the sheriff pays a penalty. But of course, if the player was lying, the player is going to pay a penalty instead. If the sheriff doesn't open the bag, you just get to go through with all of the goods that you've collected. So you're really trying to decide, what's worth more to me? Do I need to, are the cards that I put in this bag going to be worth so many points that I can afford to spend 10 coins, 15 coins in order to get these things through? Or do I want to just pay that penalty instead? Do I want to maybe make a promise and tell the sheriff that, well, when I'm the sheriff, I won't search your bag next time if you leave my bag alone? So there are lots of options in terms of what you can do. But again, someone's going to pay a penalty. The sheriff gets the penalty if they open a bag of a person who was telling the truth, and the players pay a penalty if the sheriff opens the bag and they were lying. So you've got to remember what's in that bag and decide what's it worth to you in order to prevent the sheriff from opening it. Each player is going to get a certain number of rounds as the sheriff, and play continues until they've had that number of rounds, and then the game is over. You count up how many points you've earned from the cards you've collected and the treasure you've collected along the way. You award the bonus points for players who have helped the most villagers. But what skills are you working on when you play Robin Hood, the Sheriff of Nottingham game? Well, I mean, there's some math here. Of course, you're counting up the number of points you're going to earn. You're evaluating the penalties that you're going to take if you lie and the sheriff opens the bag. Then you're deciding what are those points worth to me? How much can I bribe and still earn a net number of points, even though I'm giving another player some points by bribing them, or some other opportunities to earn some reward by bribing. So there is a lot of math in terms of calculation here. Maybe probability too, if you think about, well, what is the likelihood that this player actually had 5 carrots that they put in the bag? But certainly you're deciding on how many points are in that bag and how much is it going to be worth to me to prevent the sheriff from opening that bag. But I think the main thing here, this is not a math calculation game for sure, but it is there's a social component. We are talking about, well, bluffing, of course, and being able to recognize when another player is bluffing, but there's a lot of negotiation and compromise that's happening here, and you kind of stare into one another's eyes and try to decide, maybe I'll give you a few extra coins, or maybe I'll give you an extra card so that you can help a villager on the next turn. So that is the main element here. It's been a long time since I played a game where there was so much discussion around the table and negotiation around the table in order to come to some kind of a compromise. And what a skill for younger kids to practice, for sure. Now, the final thing that I'll mention in terms of skills when you're playing this Robin Hood game is that at a large play count, you're going to have these cards. You're going to have some cards in your bag. The bag gets closed and handed to the sheriff, and the sheriff gets to decide what to do. But if you're one of the later players whose bag gets open, you have to remember what you put in that bag so that you can decide. Sometimes, you might forget after long discussions with 3 other players or 4 other players and wonder, well, I don't even know if I'm lying or telling the truth right now. Did I put carrots or cheese in that bag? So there is a memory component here, keeping track of what you put in the bag at large play counts with long discussions. Your mileage may vary, but we had to think about it for a second. Sometimes I had to look back at my cards that I had left to decide, oh, wait, what did I put in there? But memory isn't the main component. We really are talking here about social skills, negotiation, and compromise for sure. Final thoughts about Robin Hood, Sheriff of Nottingham game. Well, this is a simple, silly, bluffing negotiation game. It's been a long time since I played a game like that. So it's simple and fun to have those discussions and arguments around the table, to be able to pull the wool over the sheriff's eyes, maybe. And it's got the addition of the Disney characters from that movie. Now, it's been many years since I watched that movie with my kids. I remember it from when I was a kid, but it's been a long time since I watched it with my kids, and it was fun to kind of remember, how cool those foxes were in that movie. I like the fact that the plastic in the box was limited, but there are some downsides here. One is that this box it wasn't wrapped in plastic. It arrived and I looked at it like, oh, wait a second, did I get a used game from Amazon? The box was a little bit dinged up. There was no plastic wrap around the outside, and then I had to very carefully remove the tape so that I wouldn't damage the box further by opening things up. The other downside, I would say, is that the perforation here for the cardboard tokens, they didn't do a very good job of perforating the tokens in this game. CMON is usually great in terms of their components and the quality of their materials. But although I would say that the cardboard cards here were high quality, the player boards were very good. The cards themselves are a little thin. And some of the coins you had to be really careful not to kind of take the paper off the outside of them when you were punching out these coins from the cardboard. That being said, if you are looking for a game a bluffing, a negotiation game to play with the younger kids, I think that this one has the Disney characters, and it's just got a lot of great table talk. We had a lot of fun playing this game. I wish the cards were a little thicker, sure. I wish that the coins were a little bit more easy to punch out of the boards, of course. But overall, we had a lot of fun playing Robin Hood, Sheriff of Nottingham Game. If you have any questions about Robin Hood or anything else about Brains on Games, you can, of course, leave them in the comment section below the video. I've been doing this for 3 years, and I only realized today that I post these videos on Mondays, and of course there's the What Did You Play Mondays hashtag that you always see online. So, hey, leave a comment with the games that you played over the weekend. If you have any questions, you can also email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go. The previous ones are up there already. Brains on Games is the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, so we're all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.